Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Bikini and the Brain. I am joined by my lovely co-host, Ashley Kaltwasser.
Hi. All the way from Los Angeles, California.
Ashley is in Los Angeles on lockdown right now.
Yes.
So we've delayed this episode one day because we wanted to talk about, we have some other ones saved up. We want to talk about, hey, what's going on? What do I do with everything that's going on outside? And then Ashley yesterday got locked up. So what's going on out there, Ashley?
Yeah, I mean, apparently they're getting stricter with the laws. I don't think I'm allowed to do the Santa Monica stairs now because they're getting kind of like really strict from what I understand. They're saying that it's a misdemeanor with a fine if you're caught like congregating with others. I think I could be wrong, something along those lines. But at the Santa Monica stairs, unfortunately, I can't control who shows up. So I'm afraid they're going to be like, no, you can't do this. There's more than a few people here. I don't know how it works. I could be wrong. But I will say this. You know what I did, though? I ran 40 minutes of the apartment stairs in my complex. So 11 floors, 40 minutes. And it wasn't bad. It was actually a pretty good workout. It just wasn't as scenic. And it was a little stuffy. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And Ashley, just real quick, I think you might want to talk a little closer into your phone just because it's a little muffled, just so you know. But what I'm finding with everyone is that at first, when they're getting this news, hey, I can't work out and I got to do it at home, or I got to work out outside. The day one, I'm finding for everyone, they're like really apprehensive about doing it. And then when they do it, they're like, oh, this is actually not that bad. It's such a common thing. It's like I think almost every athlete that I've worked with has said, actually, it's not bad. And then a lot of them are replying back after they work out, like the next day. And they're saying, I'm actually sore in areas where I'm not usually sore because it's like a totally different stimulus, like doing such high reps and band work and whatnot. So so it's, it seems like it's going to be very doable to get past it. If you're stuck in that type of area, or if it's coming to your way, don't worry about it. There's a lot of ways you can get around it. So.
And I will say this too. It is assuring, like it's less of a disappointment knowing that everyone is kind of going through the same thing. So everyone's having a problem getting to a gym. Like we're all in this together. So that's reassuring. And it's a lot about your mentality on things and how mentally strong you are. So it's just a little curveball we got going on here.
Yeah, it's temporary too. And in this episode, I'll talk a little bit about a study that was done that I recently saw talking about muscle loss and the gym and whatnot. I'll go into that in a minute. But what about, so solution-wise, Ashley, what have you been able to come up with? What kind of tips can you give to people for the home gym workout stuff?
Sure. So first off, kind of going back to what I said earlier about running in the staircase of my apartment. You got to get creative, okay? You got to use your mind. And instead of making a whole bunch of excuses like, oh, well, I can only get a good workout if I'm at the gym, or only this and that. Well, you know what? You're going to have to make it work. You're going to have to get creative. So luckily for me, I actually already have a lot of at-home equipment, which I will go over some of the essentials I have right here. I have a stability ball here. I have light dumbbells. I have ankle weights, light ankle weights, and very heavy ankle weights. Of course, resistance bands. I have the booty band you gave me and different types of bands. I have a jump rope. And, another thing I have, it's come in handy, is those, I don't know what they're actually called. They're like carpet sliders where you can put your feet or hands on the little discs and just like slide across the carpet. So those are awesome as well. So those are my little survival packs for isolation workouts.
Well, there you go. Yeah, and that's more than enough to get those. And actually, just so you guys know too, the glute bands that Ashley's talking about that I gave her. And I don't ever wanted this to come off like an advertisement or something, but I'm selling those pretty much below my cost, just so people can have stuff. Everything's still being shipped out. There's no delays in shipping, so don't freak out. It's not the end of the world. But I'm selling them on my website for $5. That really is pretty much my cost on those things. It's actually, I'm probably losing $1 or so every time I send one out, but people from like literally all over the United States are buying them. I can't tell you how many we've shipped out. I think we've shipped out well over like, I'm shipping out about 20 to 30 a day right now, the last like 2 weeks. So
Wow.
yeah, like 300 to 400 we've shipped out for, and it cost me whatever. It cost me like $1 or whatever. Probably less than $1 it cost me when everything's all said and done. It's hard to track because of the packaging and shipping and the hours of the shipper, but it's around there. So I just want everyone to have something, and now everyone's charging like the glute band. You see them selling for like 25, $30 on people's websites, and that's it's just not something I want to do right now. I want to make sure everyone has something. So if you don't have one, you can go to the site, get one for $5. I don't make anything. It's just so you guys have it. So that's a really good tool, especially for girls doing glutes. But everything else is still available. Like if you go on Amazon, you can still buy bands. If you're in an area, I went to Target the other day and bought a band, and I'm in an area where everything is out, like on the shelves, everything's gone, but there were still 8 bands that you could buy for $15. So you should be just fine. And if it's coming to your area, just go ahead and get one now. Worst case scenario, you got a band that never gets used, But Ashley, I've recently done 2 videos for home workouts. Have you done? Are you doing?
Yes, I actually have to like reshoot some of my YouTubes because, I shoot a lot of my videos when I'm with you at the gym. And I feel like when I post gym workouts now, it's just teasing people because it's like, here's a gym you can't get to and I can't get to it either. So all those pre-recorded ones, I'm going to kind of postpone and delay those ones. But I am going to film some home workout stuff tomorrow so that I can throw it up on my YouTube and my Instagram. But yeah, I don't have at home workout content because, obviously I'm more of a gym person and, I was never really a big home workout type. I rarely did home workouts, but hey, desperate times calls for desperate measures, and you got to do what you got to do. So yeah, I'll be filming some of that tomorrow. So hopefully I have it up by next week.
Yeah, and so you guys know too, I think now would be a good time to drop into that research study that was done. So a lot of people more than anything are just worried about losing gains. And I think like what's important during this time when you're, trying to get through is really just maintaining your gains. I don't think a ton of people are going to have the weight at their house or be able to create the type of stimulus to really make a bunch of progress for an advanced lifter at their house. I think that, but maintaining your progress is going to be no issue at all. So the goal is to not move backwards and to maintain your muscle, but maybe still make progress in losing body fat and focus your area on that, or focus area on maybe bringing your waistline in and focus on bringing your abs in by leaning out and whatnot. And so there's a lot of things you still can do, especially with like you can, and I still think you can actually making big improvements in the glutes too, even for an advanced lifter when you're at the house with all the different glute options, what you can do with like and some type of glute band. So there's a lot of room in those areas, but yeah, if you're a 3 years in heavy load lifting female, heavy load lifting dude, especially, you're probably not going to make gains while you're at the house, but maintaining them is not hard to do. Maintaining gains is actually pretty easy to do with just giving your body just some type of workload. So just get a pump, whatever you have to do, just get a pump, you'll maintain it and it'll be like it never happened. But that being said, I want to kind of explain to put people at ease, like what the research is behind that. And so there was some research that was conducted, and it had 2 separate groups of people. And one group was they're both working out for 6 months period. One group was working out for 6 months completely consistent with no breaks whatsoever. And then the other group would take 3 weeks off. They took 3 weeks off in a row, no working out whatsoever at week 6. And then, so from week 6 to 9, they didn't work out at all. And then they did it again. I think it was 6 weeks later they did it again. So week 15 is that from week 9? Yeah, so week 15. So week from 15 to 18, no working out again. And then at the end of the 6 months, they measured both groups in all these different areas. And the most important area that we're concerned with is basically like, lean mass and how much muscle they lost versus gained. So both groups gained muscle. And the group that worked out for 6 months had a very, very nominal difference between the group who worked out for 6 months and took breaks at 6-week markers for 3 weeks at a time. I was actually really surprised to see that myself. I thought it was going to be a lot more significant. Now, when that group did take those 3 weeks off, they did lose a little bit of muscle, but it literally bounced back within I think it was like a 10-day period, it looks like, from the graph. And I posted that in my video that I posted, 'cause I posted 2 at-home workouts. I think it's in the leg workout one I just posted on YouTube that you can see that actual study. And so, and giving credit where it's due, Jeff Nippert actually put that out on a study too, and that's where I saw that from. So it's just good information that I'm sharing, and you can watch his videos too for that insight. So don't freak out. That's the point of it. Don't freak out. It's literally not the end of the world. It's not at all. So yeah, so do you have anything on that, Ashley? Because you've taken breaks too before. I mean, after the Arnold, you took a long time off, and we were trying to get you to lose muscle, and you weren't losing muscle. So it's even harder than we think.
Yeah. So I guess my main concern is the getting the fluffs. You know, that's my main concern, is the fluffs. Not necessarily the gains being lost. It's the fluffs. Beware of the fluffs. But I think, as long as my diet stays on track and I get, my heart rate up, I can do this. I think the most challenging part for all of us trying to stay on a diet is that we are at home bored. So what do we do when we're bored and we're in the kitchen or even in the house? It's like we get the boredom cravings, I like to call it. So we're not really hungry, but we're bored and we want to entertain our taste buds. So I think that's going to be the most difficult part for all of us is, trying to keep the diet. But I've been doing pretty good with it. And I've been looking up healthy recipes online and like trying new things to bake because I have all this time, and making my own sugar-free Jell-O and stuff like that, and making treats that are maybe not necessarily meant for me, but I cook them for Hugo so that so I'm entertained and then he's satisfied. So, yeah, I mean, that's my take on it. I just anytime that you're feeling like you're having a craving, just take a step back and think, do I need this? Is this just because I'm bored, or is it because I'm hungry?
Yeah. And I think that's a really great point too, that it really is going to come down to that. And the other thing it's going to come down to is your total calorie expenditure throughout the day. So you'll not, even if you're eating the same diet you were eating before, but moving significantly less, you might, you might gain some body fat just because you're not at work doing your things. You're not out about town and just burning calories. So
the NEAT. Tell them
NEAT,
what the NEAT is.
Yeah, so NEAT is non-exercise activity induced thermogenesis. Okay, so what happens when you're doing a lot of cardio and a lot of different things for prep, your body, the way it kind of adapts is it kind of lowers your NEAT, and you don't realize that you're lowering your NEAT. Your body just kind of starts being more lazy. You don't get up and go to the bathroom when you need to. You don't go to the refrigerator as often to get up. You'll do it in one trip. You won't go over to the mall with your friends because you're like, oh, I'm just too tired. Let's just stay in today. So your body naturally finds a way to like just be lazy and lower its NEAT when you're doing all this crazy cardio and stuff for shows. And so you're naturally kind of doing that to yourself and reserving calories now because we're not allowed to. Some people are like Ashley's not allowed to go around town. So one of the things I have been doing with my athletes is I'm increasing cardio, and I'm increasing cardio specifically like HIIT cardio too, because that, HIIT cardio does create some type of stimulus for some people like that aren't trained, or if you're going really hard with cardio, you can actually create a stimulus to even grow muscle. If you're very advanced, it probably won't do too much for you, but it'll at least help you keep muscle. And so I'm hoping that that's going to rev up the metabolism enough to offset people kind of sitting around the house all day long. But any tips that you have for like staying out of the munchies?
Oh gosh, I do like me some sugar-free Jell-O. So I have a sugar-free Jell-O. I think also, as long as you're hydrated, you're less likely to snack around because your tummy is full with water. I'm a big fan of sugar-free gum. So if I'm having a craving, I like to chew a piece of gum. After I finish my meal, I like to brush my teeth because that kind of cuts the need for more food, I guess. Those are just a few of them. And then I have like my little snacks that I go to, which is like my cucumbers with stevia sprinkled on top. I like pickles. Like those very, very low calorie foods can be very helpful in situations like these. And I think it's a fun time though to experiment with new healthy recipes since you're, at home. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. Like the way that you perceive this downtime is really how you react, because there's going to be a whole bunch of situations in life, and really your reaction is what's going to dictate like how you basically progress from it. You're never going to go through anything in life. Like no one who ever made it in life didn't go through something. Ashley's been through her, I've been through mine. And even like Ashley's Cinderella story is a super positive one, but she had her downs in it too. And it's like life is gonna throw these things at you, and it's how you respond is how you're gonna end up in a higher place than everyone else. And so when you have something like this, there's two ways you could do it. One is, okay, so in Colorado, they just made it where people have to be on basically lockdown for the most part. It sounds like a little less extreme than California, but I bet you we're going to get there pretty soon. And so we have about 6 weeks where we have to just kind of be not doing anything. Hair salons got shut down. Everything got shut down for the most part. I'm still in the prep center offices, so at least I get to get out of the house. But it's because I have doctors here, so I'm considered an essential service. So I'm actually allowed to be in my office, which is nice. But the thing is, you have two different options. One is, oh, the gyms are closed, I'm going to lose all my gains. Screw it, I'll just start again when it opens, right? That's 6 weeks of no progress. You will lose a good amount of muscle in a 6-week period. It'll probably come back pretty quickly, just like the other study that we've seen, but I only saw it in 3-week periods, so I can't promise that. And then you have the people who are like, okay, 6 weeks of me like figuring this out, of me giving myself some type of stimulus, so that way when I start again, I'm in the exact same spot, or potentially even a little bit better of a spot, like as if I was working out. And it really comes down to how you attack it and how you have fun with it. Some of the things that I've told my athletes to do is find a hill close to your house, like a slight incline of a hill. It could be on a street, it could be on a mountain, a little hill, whatever, and run up it for your cardio. And honestly, after you get done doing that, and this all ends, I bet you half of the people who are doing cardio outside are going to continue to do their cardio outside, because it's actually so much more fun. And actually, you're an outdoor cardio person yourself.
Yes, very true. Yes.
So find those things. There's so many options. I know a guy who got a tire and tied it around his waist and was doing sleds in an empty football field by his house. There's a high school. So he made his own sled. He made his own sled with a tire and a rope.
Nice.
He's like, does this work, coach? And I'm like, yeah. And then there's another guy. He had some old weights and he put them on top of a piece of cardboard and then made the same type of contraption, like put a rope through the cardboard and on top of the weights, and then slid it across the grass. So they're having fun with it. It's just a matter of how you look at things. It could be the end and you're like, oh. And then the problem is that when people take off 6 weeks from the gym, and I will say this, I had one period of my life where I took off, I want to say I took off 2 months to 3 months from the gym. I was younger. I had a shoulder injury. I was playing hockey at a really high level, and I had a shoulder injury. And that shoulder injury kept me out of the gym. They're like, yeah, just don't work out for like 2 months. And to me, I was like, no way, I'll never not work out. I worked out like crazy. I've never taken breaks. I just always work out. I just love it too much. So I took a break because the doctor said I had to, and it was like 2 or 3 months, I forget. And then that 2 or 3 months, like my mind just went to a different place where it's never been before. And I actually it was hard for me to get started back in the gym again. It took me, I didn't even start working out again until about 5 months out of the gym. And I was like, man, I can't believe I'm not motivated to go to the gym. Like it did something to my mind, like where it wasn't addicted to it anymore. Cause I think I am addicted to the gym. I just need it, it's like just something in me. Like I need it, or I feel like I'm a lazy slob, And so I just didn't have that feeling anymore. And then I started working out again. And it was like such a eye-awakening experience to me as a trainer, because I was like, man, this is what it's like for people who've never worked out and they're trying to get motivated again to get back in the gym. Like it's not as easy as I thought it was to get back into the gym and motivation. And I'm pretty much I would consider myself like the worst candidate to not be motivated to be in the gym, just because it's like all I've ever done, right? Like if anyone was going to be motivated to be in the gym, it wouldn't be the guy who's worked out every day of his life, So it just didn't make any sense how I was going through it. So if I can go through that, you can definitely go through that. Because there's literally, I grew up in the gym, So if I can go through it, you can go through it. So even just to keep those habits going, make sure you stay working out any way you can. So I don't know what it is, if it's hormonal or what, but it was hard for me to get back in there. So did you go through that too? You took a little bit of a break. Was there like a period where you were like trying to get motivated to get back in and get going again?
I mean, in 2017, when I took a year off, like I was just so far off. Like I mean, if you saw me back then and see me now, and the way I lived my life was so different. Like I was just so far away from the gym lifestyle. Like I would sleep in. The only thing I did do is I did do acro yoga, or not even acro yoga. I don't even know, acro aerobatics. Sorry, I don't do yoga. But but I did do that, and I mean that was fun. But I just had no desire to get in the gym. But I think like once it's like that one moment, and I remember that one moment that kind of changed like my perception, like, oh, I'm ready to get back. And it was like going to my friend's competition. And then a few hours later, that was the day you emailed me saying, do you plan on competing again? But yeah, that was like, I had that moment of like, okay, I'm ready. It's like something that clicks, like, oh, I missed this now. Like I need to get back. So yeah.
So yours was more like of an instant, and then you were like back. See, so for me, it took weeks to get there. It took me like weeks to get back in, like motivated. So that's cool. Okay, so there you go. There's a couple stories from from us that that where it's. I think it just shows you the importance of staying consistent with it right now, even if your consistency is even if it's hard because you're like, oh, I don't have anything. Like just do what you can. There's a lot of body weight to do. Watch the videos. I put out two. Ashley's putting out some any day now. So watch those. And then like I think there's something that one thing that we'll never like cross over into is going to be anything political or whatnot. But I do think there's a lot of people out there who are scared because don't know what to believe. And so I would say like, look at the actual stats. This is not the end of the world. It really is, a real unlikely chance that our age group is going to have any serious issues. But just understand they're just trying to keep the spread going too drastic where it overwhelms the hospitals. That's really all it comes down to. I've seen some pretty crazy stories out there. There was a guy who got the virus, and then he just jumped off a building. It's crazy.
What?
Yeah, it's on this. You can Google it. He got the virus just basically because of all the media and everything. He was so scared. He thought he's gonna die, so he just killed himself. Yeah, there's been at least two occurrences that I've seen of that so far. So just do the numbers. So for you guys, and I just want to throw this out there. I'm not going to give anything of my opinion on it. All I want to do is give you guys raw data. That's all I ever go off of is data. And sorry for that beeping. I don't know how to turn that off. I've been looking for this. It's like my getting emails sent to me, and I don't know how.
Oh, they sound like the FaceTime when you answer a FaceTime.
I'm like, dude, stop beeping. So I'm just trying to give you guys some raw data. This was pulled from the COVID-19 cases by fatality in age groups in China. Okay, so this is the only data that I've been able to find in that grouping right now. So from 10 to 19 years old, 0.02%. So 0.02 is less than 1%. 0.02% fatality rate. 20 to 29, 0.09% fatality rate. 30 to 39, 0.18. So these are all less than 1%. Okay, one would be 1. So 0.18 is basically 1/5 of 1%. Just so you guys are knowing the numbers. And then 40 to 49, 0.4%. Okay, so still less than 0.5% of people are passing away from this. Not that that's something to be taken lightly, but just so you guys know, and you're like getting all into this media hype and whatnot, and you don't know what to believe. Those are the numbers. That's the facts. You make your own decision on it. I'm not going to sway you in any direction, but that's raw data. That's what I can give you. So
right. And I think too, it's important to add that like, regardless of what your thoughts on it is or what you believe in, what you don't, stressing out about it is not going to help the situation, and it is not going to help your health or immunity. So if you're really getting worked up over this, try just to remain calm, and you do what you can, but at the end of the day, stressing out, worrying, and having a lot of anxiety isn't the best. So even if that means maybe not watching so much of it on a day-to-day basis, or just to keep briefly updated on what's going on, rather than like obsessing over it on the news or whatever.
Yeah, because it could definitely get overwhelming. I'm just watching my YouTube videos and stuff right now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've been watching hours and hours a day on this stuff since like it started. So like, oh. I'm like, I feel like I'm pretty well informed, but I will say, even with me watching all this and researching it and stuff, even I find it to be a little confusing too. The information and data, one news source gives one thing and the other gives another. That can be very confusing. So, just relax. It's you do what you can, but don't stress yourself out too much.
Yeah, I think that it's important for people, because the only reason I even mention anything about it like in that realm is that I just want to, what if one of the people listening to this is that guy who would have jumped off a building,
Right.
I just want to throw it out there because there's a few thousand people that are listening to this. So just in case, if you get it, the odds are it's going to be a really bad cold. It's going to suck for a couple days, and then you're pretty much good after that. That seems to be the case from most, like a large percentage of it. So, and just to give you guys some other data too. So far this year in the United States, over 5,000 people have died from the flu. And I think today is slightly over 300 from the coronavirus. So it's not to downplay it in any way. I just wanted you guys to just not freak out, because I'm getting so many people that are literally scared. I had a cop come to my building right now because one of my neighbors called because I was in the office because she's afraid that my gym is open and there's 100 people coming in and out. And I'm like, one, for her to be infected by people coming into my gym living 200 feet away is impossible, but that just shows you the hysteria out there, So one, it just doesn't make any sense, but I understand she's afraid. She's watching the news. She's stuck in her house. She doesn't get it. She sees, cars in the parking lot, doesn't, realize how we're zoned and how we are set up. So just throwing it out there, you guys just take it easy. It's going to pass. I do feel, bad for the people who are not working right now. But there's a lot of things that you can do. One of the things that I'm doing to help out with a lot of the servers and stuff are kind of out of work right now. Servers, there's a lot of different jobs. Trainers, they're all out of kind of work right now. But a lot of these guys are going to they're being deliverers for Uber Eats or DoorDash. I was talking to a couple guys. They're like, yeah, I'm just doing DoorDash just to get through the month or whatever. So I'm increasing my DoorDash frequency to at least once a day, sometimes twice. And if you got a little bit of extra money, remember that a lot of these guys are new. They're new DoorDash people and they're just doing DoorDash, and tip them well if you got a little bit of extra money, because right now tipping someone $10 is a pretty big help to a server who was working tables at a busy restaurant just a week ago. So if you got it and you can help these guys out, you get some good food at the same time, why not? So and if you're worried, that's another option. There's that dog Wag, the dog walking app. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing on the side. If you're a hairstylist, I was talking to a hairstylist yesterday, and they're not allowed to do the hair, but the owner said, hey, you can do your customers at their houses if you want. And so I was like, hey, you make 50% from the hair salon. Go ahead and if you do 50% of the people that you were working on before, you're going to make the same money that you were making, because you're making 100% now. So it's not the end of the world. In May, this is going to be all over and we're going to be like, oh, okay, everything's back to normal. Take a few weeks to get everything really normalized, but it's going to be okay. So don't get too depressed out there. It's just a time clock on a time clock you got to watch count down. That's all.
Right. And speaking of middle May or whatever, it's, the shows seem to be postponed till at least mid-May. And I will say, from a competitor's perspective, it's so hard to get in the zone not knowing which shows will be available to compete in. Because although those ones are delayed, who's to say they won't delay it further? We're not sure. But yeah, I think that's a little difficult. But I'm doing actually pretty good as far as my motivation and stuff, because I'm just like, you know what? I was already basically in isolation for a few weeks already because of my eye surgery. I mean, not literal isolation, but I couldn't do anything. I just had to sit at home. But yeah, it's kind of like, I'm not going to let that happen again. So I'm going to be active and make the most of it. And, take this time as almost more of a relaxing time frame in my life. So, you got to have some positivity in all this.
Yeah, for sure. And, and at the end, we're taking care of we're just indirectly taking care of the elderly that really do have a chance of this being really bad for them. So that honestly is what it comes down to for at the end is, we're putting, kind of sacrificing a little bit for ourselves to keep for the better good. So there's nothing wrong with that. Now, when it comes to, what Ashley brought up a good point is, what if you had a show that was in April or early May and it got pushed back? Like everyone's kind of like, oh man, my show got pushed back, this and that. I don't know if it's going to happen and whatnot. I'm finding it to be highly unlikely that your show is going to be postponed past the end of May. Okay, so really all it did was delay your time frame at the most like 5 weeks. So I mean, there's no reason to stop prep. You might have a couple weeks where you reduce cardio, you have a cheat meal, you reload a little bit, you get or you can use those extra weeks to get ahead and get farther ahead. There's no reason that you would be like done where you shouldn't compete. Now, I will let you know the shows towards the end of May are going to be more dense, because all of our people, for example, that were competing in April are now going to be competing at end of May. So we're going to have,
sense.
Yeah. So you're going to have, you're going to have prepare yourself mentally. You're going to have basically 2 competitions worth of competition in May. I don't think it'll be exactly that. I think a lot of people will quit because they're finding out it might be hard for some people to continue with it. I don't agree with it. I think that you should just fight through it with another 4 weeks, 5 weeks of prep with 2 weeks of a reload in there. It's not that bad. So, but you're going to have a harder level of competition because it's going to be more dense towards that time frame. And I think that that's motivation in itself to work hard as you can. The thing is, like, the disadvantage is the same for everyone, like Ashley said. Like, it's not like, if you look at like the movie Rocky and you have like that guy Drago who's at this like super scientific training camp, probably like the prep center, versus like Rocky training in the mountains. It's not that type of disadvantage. Everyone is working out at home right now. That's in your area. Everyone is at the same disadvantage of getting the whatever food. So there's just it's the same. It's apples and apples. So how you respond though is not the same. How you respond can set you apart. And this is one of those things we talk about when we talk about, Ashley and I are big into taking advantage of every day. And I always say this thing, day capturing. Day capturing is so important because, that's your opportunity to get 1 day ahead of someone. And as many 1 day ahead of someone as you can get and start compiling them into a year ahead of someone, that's when you set yourself apart so far where they just can't catch you, even if they tried, because you're still working just as hard every day. So if someone is complaining that's your competition and they're not working that hard, good for them. That gives you a chance to get ahead. So just think of it like that, because it is going to get pretty dense here towards the end of May, in June, and especially, at the pro level too. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I was thinking about that scenario. I was thinking, okay, people got to qualify. For example, Phoebe, Phoebe, Frida, and Patricia in Hungary wanted to do a show at the end of May. Now they all are postponing their show, right? Well, now it's harder for them to get that Olympia qualification because some of the shows just disappeared.
Did you see that they're actually extending the qualification till like end of August?
I saw that this morning. And now it was already, the Tampa was already in August, wasn't it? So is it 3 weeks extended?
I thought it seems to be just a few weeks before the Olympia, right? Whereas before it was a month before. So they're adding some extra weeks for the ones lost, I think.
Yeah, I think I was like, how much time is it actually? I saw that. I just wasn't sure when. I know the Tampa's in, I'm pretty sure, because the Tampa's always the last show of the year that you can qualify for the Olympia. So that show is always like, honestly, I call that show like the junior Olympia, because like whoever's really close does that show. And it's like, man, that show is dense. If you guys are fans of the sport, watch that show, because you're going to be seeing a lot of people's best shape of the year because they're like trying to get that Olympia qualification. So it's like a really cool show. It's also broken my heart a couple times, actually, like 3 times. That show's broken. I like have a real strong love-hate relationship with that show, because there's like, I think I got one girl who finished, 2 girls 2 times where they were like 1 spot away from getting into the Olympia, and they finished 6th instead of 5th, and they would have gotten the points to get in and that type of thing. And it's like, it's a tough show, it's a tough show. So yeah, I got a love-hate relationship with that show, but it's a great show as like a fan. But yeah, I think I always think, I want to say it is in August. So I think we added 3 weeks or so to that. So yeah, hopefully there's a couple other opportunities for the girls to get in. So I'm thinking
the ones that were canceled, I think a lot of them now are like towards the August now, the ones that were postponed.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out the scenario there. It's either going to be one of two things. One, a lot of shows won't happen, and then everything gets harder because the shows like the Arnold Australia and whatnot, those girls are in shape and they all do the shows trying to qualify in the limited shows there are. Or two, all the shows reschedule and they're all just happen to be like on the same weekend, and you might just get one show that's crazy, crazy dense, and one show that has like, you know, 6 people in it that know that as like first timers as a pro. So I'm like, I don't know the scenario, but we just need to be prepared. So like the cool thing is like everyone for the most part is pretty motivated to do these shows. And they're keeping going. So yeah, it seems to be going okay. From the competitor that I'm hearing from, I got a couple that are like, oh, I can't get these workouts. And then they do a workout and they're like, oh, it's not that bad. So I think it's just, you know, walking into it with the right mindset.
And yes, don't make excuses, make solutions.
Exactly. That's one of that you just gave that one. Look at how relevant it is.
Exactly.
So, do we have anything else on this subject, Ashley? Anything you want to throw out there?
Yeah. So, in regards to the at-home workouts, as we know, they're not going to be as heavy. So in cases like this, maybe try to go for more reps, maybe try to add some plyos in there for intensity. And another thing that you can do is really focus on your unilateral training movements at this point in time. Since we are going to be dealing with lighter weights and resistance bands, doing one arm or one leg exercises are going to be super beneficial because they don't require as much weight as the regular 2-leg or 2-arm movements. So I think that's a good thing to consider. And also, it's helpful to use like inclines for intensity, you know, such as a couch or a bench or an ottoman or your stairs, to add like a different variation to what you've been doing before. And maybe like your other athletes will get sore from trying these new little adjustments here and there.
Yeah, and I think another thing is just one of the things that you'll hear Ashley say and Frida says a lot too is that make lightweight feel heavy. So they're like squeezing so hard within the rep range that you can get a good workout with a 10-pound weight with a band because you're squeezing with intention. You're going through time under tension, real slow movements that you're really squeezing, and you can really light up a muscle just by doing that alone. So it's a lot of it is the intent. You know, if you're used to throwing around heavy weight, well, you don't have heavy weight anymore. So throwing, you know, squeezing really hard is going to increase that intensity, and you're still going to get a really good workout with it too. So yeah, it's just about finding the solutions. There's a ton of stuff on YouTube. I tried to throw a bunch of exercises up the other day on my YouTube for things that you can do. Yeah, so find what works for you. Just get a stimulus, just get a pump. You're not going to lose anything, and then stay positive. That's such a big part of this too, is just staying positive, like Ashley said. So I guess with that, guys, that is it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was very helpful. And if you don't mind, do you mind telling us again where to get those resistance bands that I have, the Team Elite Physique one?
Yeah. So you guys, if you just go to teamelitephysique.com, that's the website. You go to the shop. I'm selling the booty bands for $5. And by no means, I always get like kind of scared of like saying that, because by no means would I ever want to take advantage of the situation and take advantage of people who are going through this. So that's why I'm selling them like below my cost. You know, I don't even, honestly, I haven't even calculated my shipping costs and all that. I think it's around there. So I'm just trying to help out, guys. So don't crucify me for like saying that. You know, I really am trying to do something right here. So yeah, so get them. You know, I have them shipped out Monday through Friday. I'm shipping out so many damn booty band type things. Like it's crazy. So that's all right. I got 1,500 of them left. So you guys I'll do it until I can't. So yeah, so that's it. And thank you guys for listening. Stay safe out there. You know, I gave you some stats and it doesn't downplay it at all. Just you still have to be smart. You still have to be safe. Wash your hands. It actually matters.
Yes. Take your vitamins.
Yeah. And you know what?
Stay hydrated.
We're the most likely candidates. Our audience is the most likely candidates for this to not really affect them much at all, because we have strong immune systems. So that's something to, you know, be proud of at this point. You know, when you're an athlete and you're working out all the time and you're taking care of your health, like just understand that this is a great thing that you're doing for yourself, and you're going to be thankful for it in situations like this, because your odds go down dramatically with a heightened immune system like we have and being fit like you are. So it's just another reason to keep doing what you guys are doing. all the way through these hard times. So thank you guys for taking care of yourselves, and thank you guys so much for listening to us. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye, everyone.